Hey guys, girls, welcome back to what I'm going to call the official, probably last video of this series. It's gone longer than I expected. Generally, the videos are going longer than I expected, but we're going to do a nice, quick, sweet, and simple video. We're going to fix the keyboard issue that I mentioned in the end of the last video. We're going to mess around with the fonts so they look better on this background. And also, real fast, we're going to do something that I could have done last video, and I don't know why I didn't. Being difficult. This stretching is happening because of this content mode. If you click on the background, there's a bunch of different options for how you want this to go in. Very simple one is aspect fill. So basically it keeps the same aspect of the so aspect fill will actually keep the aspect ratio of the original image that we had, and then in this case it'll be centered since we did it, and then you can do like, top right, top left, whatever you want to do. That actually kind of looks cool too, even though it's like super distorted. But I think the one that looks the best is actually just if it's centered. That looks kind of cool. And then if we look at this as a reference, if all this stuff was bold, I think it would show just fine. And then maybe this stuff needs to pop a little bit. Okay, so let's just, if we brighten up this color a little bit, it'll show up better. Then summary, humidity, time, and temperature label. I want to, so I can't do all different styles. I think it's humidity and time have the same label. Okay. Time, humidity. They're both system. We can make both of them semi-bold. Temperature and summary, multiple fonts. Alright, so temperature is fine. What we need to change is summary. Summary is noteworthy light, and instead we can do noteworthy bold. And then instead of just building again, since we're doing a short video this time, like I promised, let's do a few things. This keyboard, I want to do zip code. Full address to get your exact weather data is a little bit overkill. Unnecessary, I would say. You can go to the keyboard type here and say number pad, numbers, punctuation. Let's just do numbers pad. Auto enable return key. Honestly, I haven't tried that. That might do what I'm going to do anyways. Let's just do that and see where we're at. I'm also going to do something so you can just like touch to make this keyboard go away. And one thing that we definitely have to do is the places where I put a print label, we have to like show an actual alert, a pop-up, so they know something went wrong, and it can't just be like, sorry, it didn't work and I have no response for you, besides it just, not loading anymore. Let's see how this looks. We made very little changes, but I think it's going to be influential. Influential? I don't think that's the word I'm thinking of. Looks way better. Brightening this up helped, even though it's, not on these trees. This looks cool. I'm still thinking about whether I want to put this high-low right next to the temperature. I'm going to leave it because I don't think it matters that much. Let's see what this keyboard looks like. To do that, we're going to have to turn off this, uncheck this connect hardware keyboard. Okay, so one thing is it's definitely smaller, so that's good. Big problem is that it does not have a return keyboard, so auto enabling literally does nothing. Okay, so let's do the little tapping thing. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is throw in a tap gesture, recognizer in there. This is what it looks like. We could drag and drop it onto the screen like we did with most of the other things, but we're going to do this one programmatically, just so you can see the difference. Anything that we've added, these labels and whatever, they have their code equivalents. I usually don't do them in that way because it balloons the size of the code up a lot. Like we're barely over 100 lines, and there's like extra space all throughout this thing. We can get this whole view controller down 100 lines. In general, we're following a MVC pattern, which is model view, proper way of doing it. But in this specific situation, I think we should do it programmatically. So any of these things that we added, you can add with a what's going on here? Am I retarded? Wow. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is throw in a tap gesture recognizer in there. This is what it looks like. We could drag and drop it onto the screen like we did with most of the other things, but we're going to do this one programmatically, just so you can see the difference. Anything that we've added, these labels and whatever, they have their code equivalents. I usually don't do them in that way because it balloons the size of the code up a lot. Like we're barely over 100 lines, and there's like extra space all throughout this thing. We can get this whole view controller down 100 lines. In general, we're following a MVC pattern, which is model view controller. We try to keep all the user interaction in here. We try to keep all our like user interaction with the screen here, and any access that we need for data, we keep it in these models, and then views, generally you manipulate how the screen looks in code. Obviously we didn't follow that religiously because I'm not exactly accessing data. I mean, I'm still doing it in the location class and in the weather class, but like I'm handling the GPS stuff on the view controller and stuff, which is not a big deal in general. I would separate that, but in the video that we were doing that, there was like a error that I wasn't sure about, and so we just left it as is. For the tap gesture recognizer though, let's see here. Let tap gesture, let's call it screen tap. Screen tap equals tap gesture recognizer. UI tap. Yeah, there you go. UI tap gesture recognizer. And then, if I remember correctly, we can say screen tap dot. We can specify number of taps required 1. Screen tap. The number of touches required 1. So we're saying we only need 1 tap on the screen, and with 1 finger. So you can specify that to whatever you need to do. And then I'm just trying to remember if I need to make it like a delegate or anything, but let's say view, which is the main screen, add gesture recognizer, and then we can pass in our screen tap. And then I believe I remember exactly where we do this. An observer, no. Look it up real quick. Programmatically add tap gesture recognizer. Okay, Swift. I remember the last bit. I know there's like some kind of function that you can call that gets called when a tap does happen. There you go. So target itself. Action is handle tap. This might be similar to what we need to do. Just copy that. This is a good thing to do too. Views user interaction enabled, and then you just add it. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Let's just do it here. Okay, so we're just gonna go ahead and paste that tap gesture recognizer in. It's gonna complain because we don't have a function called handle tap. Handle tap. And I don't know if that's gonna work. Argument of selector versus the instance member. Replace let tap with, no, we don't want to do that. We can mark the function with objective C in front of it, and then we can add this. We can remove that, and then what we want to do is tap to get the keyboard away, which I gotta remember. Let me also add this to say that's 2 P's. This needs to say user interaction. Yeah, I said that it's true. And then when we handle the tap, I believe it's like dismiss keyboard or something. Dismiss keyboards before. For the interest of time and to show the resources, I'm just going to Google everything rather than try a bunch of keyboard combinations while videotaping. Self.view.end editing. That sounds... Force end editing. That sounds like something that I've done. This obviously doesn't exist anymore. For the sake of organization, I'm gonna throw that up there. Put this into its own little block. You add gesture recognizer, separate that out, cool. Let's see how that works. And then so gotta add the alerts, and also I'd like to look at how the size is playing out right now, because I know there's a chance that with the keyboard coming out, they might still cover the search bar like on a smaller phone or a shorter phone or something like that. Which in that case we can like simulate on smaller phones or do something like that, but in general there's like a lot of white space here. Okay, so now if we do that, tap away, sweet. So this is a little annoying to people, you know, they can't click search. Let's just go move everything up real quick. In general, you can make this whole screen a scroll view so it can move up and down, and that's how I generally handle it. But I don't want to like move everything just for that little example, especially when the screen space is honestly not that sparse. The way we set it up, everything's related to each other, so moving everything on the screen is really not difficult at all. So I can bump this up 10 spaces, 10 units. This is pretty far away. Is this centered by default? Centered X search. I think it's our refresh button. Yeah. Width, height. Top space is 40, way too much. Top space 50 to 20 as well. We can relate this a little bit closer to 10. Cool, cool. A lot more space. iPhone X is a pretty small version, honestly. As far as iPhones go, iPhone 8. iPhone SE is the smallest version. That's probably going to be our biggest trouble. This isn't obviously the most legit way to deal with this, which I mentioned before, but I don't want to make a whole nother video or drag this on just to show you how to do a scroll view. We're going to probably do scroll views for sure in other videos. What you'd essentially do is move the keyboard up based on, you'd move the view up to accommodate for the size of the keyboard, and then you would drop it back down. Okay, everything's a little bit closer together. I actually like how that looks. We have this available now. iPhone SE is obviously still going to have some beef. They're not going to love the screen layout. Pop that up a little bit. How's everything look right now? Looks pretty good. It doesn't look too snug to me. Humidity we can bump up a little bit. Definitely don't want that much space between the time limit and humidity. So there should be 4. There should be pretty close to each other. I know I'm doing this for my selfish reasons, but actually I think it could use some adjustments. A little bit too close. A little bit too far, actually, is what I meant to say. Okay. And then we could even bring up this temperature a little bit closer to our image. Pop this up while we're here. Why not? Why not? I think this might even work for the iPhone SE now, which it might take a second to start a new emulator, but let me go ahead and close this simulator. It's going to end that, and then let's just run an iPhone SE and see if our keyboard works. This is one way to do it. Ideally, before you actually release an app, you would get the actual physical devices and test out everything on each device, different screen size. If you wanted different versions of iOS, the OS X, and but this is what we're doing right now. Let's see what this looks like whenever it pops up. And then in general, we can just kind of work on our warnings. There's only a few places where we need warnings. It's if the coordinates are generally going to be valid. For our home location, they're going to be valid. For the location that we put in here, they're going to be valid if it's true. This completion will throw back this error. What we're going to need is an alert. What I'm going to do, just to show you that it's an option, and because we're going to use it a lot, is I'm going to create an extension of the UI view controller, which means that anywhere that we have a UI view controller, in this case we only have one, we're going to have we're going to be able to use this function that I put in here. So make, I'll say destructive alert, and then I'm going to pass in some parameters, but first let me just remember what they are. Let alert equals UI alert controller, if I remember correctly. Where is our simulator? I feel like it popped up somewhere, but I don't see it. Oh, there we go. So it looks like we got an error running our app, and obviously this finally came back. It's looking for a title, a message, and a style. So I'm going to put 3 things right here. Title, which is a string, message, string, and style. Style we want to see. Let's say style and title message. Title, message, and then you can just do dot alert. Action seed is the little alert that comes from the bottom. It's usually used to like display options. And then on the alert we want to add a action, which is of a type UI alert action. And we'll just make this say, confirm or something like that, or okay. Style will say default, which is like just a blue title. You see it right now. And then this says what to do when this gets pressed, which we don't need to do anything. Just call it nil. So added the action. And then we can say alert. Say view.present. Should be like present view controller. Or let's just do this. I'll return a UI alert controller. And then we'll do this. So when we get this error message back, instead of showing it like this, we'll say, gotta remember to return it. So return alert. And then here when we get our error, we can say self.view.present. That's how you're supposed to do it. Unless this got changed for Swift 4. I don't believe it did. It's supposed to be like present, and then it's supposed to ask for a view controller. Wow. Let's see if I'm just completely off. How to display alerts with UI alert controller. This is what our alert's going to look like. It's going to have one self.present. Is that really my issue? I don't have to specify view. Okay. A little frustrating, but it's all good. View controller present, that's kind of off-putting. It doesn't seem like you're presenting a view controller, but that's what it's called. So now I'll say make destructive alert. I can just say error, and error message will be the message, and then it also wanted something else. Animated, which we'll say is true, which means does it like just appear or does it pop up over time? So that takes care of the search pressed error. We have to say self because we're inside of a closure. So that's an error that we can get back. Get current weather doesn't return error. I feel like there's somewhere else. So this is always going to be valid coordinates since we're getting it from a service. If the location doesn't return it correctly, we're going to pass it back. And then invalid URL is not so much a valid possibility anymore since we're not entering in addresses for that. speaking of that, we should change that description to text to say, I guess enter a zip code. Now that they only have that option. And then let's just try to run it on this iPhone SE again. The error that I got said it was already running, which obviously it wasn't, because it isn't. But let's just run it again. We'll do our test on this little screen and see if it came out alright. Launching weather. Okay, so it's taking a second to get our weather back for whatever reason. Perfect, our keyboard fits perfectly in the smallest possible size. And okay, we got our weather back. I wonder if for whatever reason GPS is not enabled. Okay, in any case, it worked. I don't know why this one specifically would not, would not pull the location data. Unless I don't know something about the iPhone SE and it really doesn't have that capability, which would be insane and impossible probably. But I'd like to say we're done. We can real quick just test out that little alert dialog, and to do that we can just put in a zip code like this that won't return anything. 91 did. How about that? So it didn't show anything. I think that should have to do with the fact that we're trying to do something visually, but we're not on the main thread. We talked about this briefly, different lanes of the highway. So when we get network information, we're on the slow lane. We're on the lane that eventually gets back to us. And so what we need to do is do dispatch queue main async. So what this is doing is saying get back on the fast lane. We need to present something to the user and we need to do it quickly. And if I'm not mistaken, that should be correct. And that might have been the reason why I see this print statement here, the operation couldn't be completed. That might have been the reason why we didn't get anything back. So if this trim the address is, yeah, so we would still pass back this invalid URL. I'm wondering where this print statement came from. Whether it doesn't have any print statements that I can see. So if the location manager failed, that could have happened. Let's see what happens on this run. Okay, still didn't come back. Operation couldn't be completed. Let's see if we get our JH apparently is valid. So is J. One thing that we definitely just saw right now is that this summary label is not acting how we would like it to, and the reason of which is silly but simple. We just centered it in the middle. We didn't say anything else about it. What we need to say about it is we don't need it to be centered, but we need it to maintain at least 10 spaces, 10 units from the left, 10 units from the right. It's going to stretch out that box. It's not a big deal. Center is aligned. Line trailing also needs to be 10. And then also we can specify that we want the text to be centered in the box. Just like that. And now when the text gets to the edges, it should go over into the next line. Still not sure why our pop-up's not coming up, and that's kind of important. I'm missing something from here. Let's just take a look. Add action, present, alert, animated. That's all fine. This explains a little bit of where each thing goes. So we're making a destructive alert. Getting the alert, dot alert, adding action to it, returning that alert. And then we're getting the main queue and we're creating it, which gets returned back, and then we're animating it. Operation could not be completed. That is very strange. Unless for some reason like the location is weird, or I don't know what, but so this works fine. Mostly cloudy throughout the day and breezy starting in the ... Wow, that still doesn't want to work. We set that to 0 lines, I believe. No, we did not. We did that for the temperature, it looks like. I'm going to just leave it alone, but it's pretty annoying. I don't know what's happening right now that it's not getting the current weather. It's not getting the location, it seems like, from the iPhone SE for whatever reason. I'm going to Google that real quick, see what might be the reason. This video has gone long, just like I assumed it would. Let's see what the problem is here. Still not coming back. That's cool. Let's look for J, which I really don't even know what it's returning back, but there you go. We got it wrapping to the next line like we expected to. Everything else looks good. I honestly don't know what's going on with the location issue. Let's see if this gives any kind of useful information. Check that you have a valid Wi-Fi and 3G connection. Go to settings and reset your location services. Reset your network settings. Wow, so this looks like it's actually a pretty common problem in general. That just happens with phones, and it's being simulated to the hardware now, which is weird. But my larger concern is that we set up this alert thing specifically for that, and we're not showing it because it's happening here. So we want to do the same thing. Let's just do it on the main queue in case. If it already is on the main queue, then no harm, no foul. I think it's, a little poetic, a little ironic that this last video pretty much had most errors that we've had during a video. But it's kind of, it's kind of appropriate. It feels like exactly what should happen. But after this one goes away, hopefully on this next run, it'll be all good. Let's just hit play. So it looks like it's not a programming issue. Our programming issue, or mine anyways, was that we weren't accounting for that error. But other than that, it should be fine. Let's see, at least if there's a location issue, it should display it now. It's not going to be like a user-friendly error, obviously, but like the Stack Overflow answer was saying, it happens, and then people leave bad reviews based on it and stuff, which is unfortunate. But go to settings, reset your location services, reset your network settings. I don't know if that's going to be the same on a simulator, but okay, so that worked. And if we do a zip code or J, wherever that is, it'll load. Everything looks cool. If we do our own location, nothing's gonna happen because it can't get our location. Operation could not be completed. Let's see, just to be stubborn, if resetting these location settings will help. Privacy, location services, system services. We obviously have Wi-Fi. Turn this off. Turn this on. You can see here that it, oh, that's weird. It didn't ask for permission. I guess that was probably why. Let's go check it out. Hit weather again. Okay, well, never had that error before. I'm glad it happened here. I'm calling it. This video's over. We got that working. So it looks like for whatever reason we accepted in our last app and we switched phones. And normally if you did that in real life, you installed the app on 2 phones, it would ask for permission again. In this case it didn't. Now you know somewhere obvious to check. Should have thought of that maybe earlier, but everything looks good. This ends up being what our app's gonna look like. I'm happy with it. I hope you're happy with it. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you got anything useful out of this, and like a video or 2 if you can. Hope to see you in the next tutorial. I'm probably going to start working on it pretty soon. Don't know what I'm going to do yet, but hope to see you guys again. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it.